In this episode of Brain Music and Learning, we are meeting Tanja Linnavalli from University of Helsinki. Welcome.
Thank you.
I would love our readers and listeners to hear about your thesis work, and especially the paper where you are reporting the results of musical interventions in play schools.
Well, where to begin?
It's a huge study.
Yeah. Well, it was quite a huge study for a PhD student, I admit. Had moments of desperation along the way, but the main thing was that we followed about 75 children for 2 years, and we found daycare centers or kindergartens where where they had this musical play school that was provided by some music institute, a professional music teacher. And then we also had some daycare centers that had dance lessons in a similar vein with professional dance teachers. And then we had these so-called passive control daycares that didn't provide either one of these hobbies. And the teachers came to the daycares once a week and gave the lesson to the children, and we had only one age group. We chose those who were 5 at the time of the beginning, or were going to be 5 during that calendar year.
So this musical play school, it's something really popular in Finland, and it's really very much developed here. So these were musical play school lessons like once per week, 45 minutes or?
Yes, once per week, 45 minutes each time, and 30 times a year. And it's as you said, it's a very traditional Finnish hobby or extracurricular activity. And we have teachers who study 5.5 years to become music play school teachers. And they are typically well-structured lessons that are optimized for small children. Of course, there are different age groups. Typically 3 to 5-year-old children might be in the same group. And they have structure, beginning song, and then they play some small instruments and sing old songs or the familiar songs, and then new songs, and dance maybe a little bit. But the emphasis is on playful activities like that are good to children. It has nothing to do with theoretical teaching in the sense that they would teach notes or chords or something like that. But it's a great time with music with children.
And most children, they love it. They have a lot of fun in the world of music in those lessons.
They certainly do, yes.
And that's also something that the parents might also take their kids outside of the daycare. They might also take them to music play school.
Yes, this is actually more typical that there are play schools or several play schools in music institutes, and some other stakeholders might arrange them as well, so that the parents typically when the children are small, they stop working too early, and then they go to the daycare center and get their child there from there and take her or him to another place where there is this music play school, and then they sit there behind some wall like for 45 minutes and are just waiting for it to end. So this is in some cities in Finland, it's possible to have these in daycare centers provided by professional teachers. Of course, daycare centers, they offer a lot of music depending on the willfulness and skill level of their early childhood education and care teachers. That may vary a lot.
Yeah.
But these kind of professional music play schools, stupid word, but you know what I mean. They are like typically done outside the kindergartens.
Yeah. So when it happens inside the kindergarten day, it's really helpful for the family. They don't have to drag the kid to the hobby and dress up in the wintertime and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference on who are actually going to participate in the music play schools.
I would say so. In this case, and of course this is, if not controversial, but it has raised a lot of discussion also that it wasn't for free. Excluding those who you could, if you don't pay for the daycare itself, then you don't pay for that either. But it still, I think it encourages that sort of families to make their child to participate who wouldn't have timely resources, or maybe not think that that's such an anything special to go to music play school, but they think that if it's there, well then okay,
yeah, why not?
Why not? I don't have to drive my child from daycare to another music institute or anything like that. So it's, and I would say, and they did have, for example, quite a lot of well, not maybe quite a lot, but more children from immigrant backgrounds in these music play schools than what they typically have outside music play schools that are provided outside the daycare centers.
Yes, definitely. That's a very important point when we think about the results of the study.
Yes.
But for the dance lessons, it's the same. It's very easy for the parents just to say yes, because it happens in the daycare. But the dance lessons are not so popular in Finland for kids of this age.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I think they don't have the similar, as long tradition as music play school has. And unfortunately, I think that they are probably not supported so much by different stakeholders and maybe government either. So they are sort of like I'm not an expert on this, I have to say, but so maybe it's more like at least for the people in our age, we are more aware of that there is music play school.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's not only music institutes or music schools that provide, but also this MLL, like children's
different foundations.
Offer that, and that I don't think that happens with dance. So dance is only in the commercial dance centers or dance institutes.
That would happen in cities, but not in the rural areas, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a difference. And also for the dance lessons, there was a structure, and it was also playful.
Yes.
So there's a lot of similarities between the music lessons and the dance lessons in that sense, but they are not the same. So in the dance lessons, you wouldn't have singing, and you wouldn't have musical instruments, but in both of them you would have dancing.
Yes, of course the dance is in lesser part in music play school. I think they more like have a play, some sort of play, and some dancing, but it's not like comprised of dance sections or anything. So, so they do have this similarity maybe in rhythm, but maybe the dance lessons are more towards like focusing on the movement and not like making sound.
Yeah. So you were recording brain responses and also language test results from the children.
Yes, we had this brain response paradigm, as we called it in our world, where the children were hearing changes in phonemic changes, like in this stream of sound, and this EEG, electroencephalography, never know how to pronounce the word, is like it measures how the brain reacts to changes in the sound. Or in some other thing, but of course we were focusing on the sound. And then we had so-called neuropsychological tests, a couple of 2-3 language-related tests, and then also we measured like some part of executive functions and also this nonverbal intelligence.
And you found that actually the music lessons do have an impact on some of these.
Yes, and this was really great news, because I also I couldn't get all the children in the first fall to participate, so I had to take 2 cohorts, which meant that I actually gathered the data for 3 years. And of course, as everybody who has done interventions or longitudinal studies knows, that it's really, it feels like a gamble, you know. You're putting all the eggs in this basket, and what happens if you never find the results that you're expecting to find? And so it was quite a relief when we finally then looked at the results or the data when all the data was collected, and found that in music groups, when we looked at the language tests, behavioral tests with the children were doing, we found that the children who had participated in music play school, their scores in phoneme processing skills and their vocabulary improved more than for the children who were participating in dance lessons or who didn't participate either one of these activities. Of course, all the children develop during 2 years, so it's obvious that the scores are going higher all the time, and this is, of course, as you know, the reason that we need to have like also control groups, so that we know that if there's some sort of increase in the scores, then it's not due only to the development, which happens in all the groups. Yeah. And of course, we wanted to have also another active group, which was dance in this case, because if we would have had only music play school group and the control group, then we would see that, okay, music play school, it sort of looks as if it's enhancing their vocabulary skills and phoneme processing skills, but then we wouldn't be so sure that it's specifically the music, because it could only be some sort of interaction with an adult who comes there every week, and have some activities that are maybe challenging children in some way. But in this case, the difference was clear for between both of the groups or all the groups.
Yeah, so that's really important. And the groups were varying. So you would have children who have already in the beginning of the study, they have very advanced language skills compared to their age. And then you might have kids who have less developed, lower than average language skills in the beginning of the study. Some of those children might even have some language impairment. Yes. Some of them might not have Finnish language at home, so they might be in a Finnish language daycare, but their native language is something different. So that might also explain a little bit, like, for example, a poor vocabulary in the beginning of the study. But faster development in those children, I think it's really, really important.
It is, yes. And we did have this, well, not a problem, but challenge, because when we make the follow-up, and of course we collected data from the parents about the children's extracurricular activities, what they had done before and what they did at the same time. And it appeared that some children had started the music play school even earlier, or dance. And then there were children who were they're dropping out from the music play school itself, maybe changed the daycare center. And even though I followed them with my tests and measurements, then the music play school didn't necessarily follow. But we could take this into account in our statistical analysis, and it showed that this difference in the increase of these language features did not arise before 2 years participation in the music play school. So that was like the minimum to achieve those.
Yeah. So you had 30 times per year, 45 minutes at a time for 2 years, and that's
Yes.
the recipe for having these kinds of results.
Well, to put it simply, yes,
Yeah,
I maybe wouldn't.
Of course,
Yeah.
it might be also possible to gain similar kinds of results if you had twice per week music play school. Who knows?
Yes, and actually, of course, when I wrote this article about the report about this study or these specific results, I read a lot of earlier studies, and it does seem that the more often you have it, the faster the results seem to, or the skills enhance, which is of course quite logical. There are studies that have shown some enhancement or improvement, language improvement already in 2 weeks, but it was like that they had like 2 hours per day or each day or something like that. Yeah. And so of course we don't know the longitudinal effects that well. So in a sense, I think it's more realistic to have this kind of a design where it's actually quite realistic to have like once a week a hobby or activity, and not like 2 hours per each day.
Yeah, of course.
And this was actually, now that this came up, this was actually one of the reasons we started to do this study, because there are, as you know, there are a lot of studies telling that if children really they go to music institutes and play some instrument and rehearse a lot, then it shows in their skills. But it's not very realistic to think that all the children could be given this kind of dose of music. But it's more ordinary to have like once a week or maybe twice a week.
Yeah. So this has implications for early childhood education. It kind of tells me that music, and especially singing and this kind of structured use of music, should be one of the key elements of early childhood education when we think about the development of language skills.
Yeah, I should say so. Of course, there are a lot of things that children need in the daycare, so I understand that we can't think that it has to be like or only music or something else. They need motor activities and stuff like that. But when you think of the language skills, and it seems, according to the literature, that music seems to be one of the most powerful means to improve it. Alongside, of course, the actual language rehearsals or discussions or something like that. But what is maybe remarkable in music is that with small children you can play and sing and they have fun. It's not like that now I'm practicing this language thing and trying to remember new words and hear the phonemes or something like that. But it sort of comes along the side.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it's like a positive side effect of having fun in the world of music.
Yes.
It is ear training. You really have to train your ears in order to understand the difference between the different phonemes of your native language.
Yes.
We don't usually see that because it kind of happens automatically, but there are some children who are struggling with that. So they might have problems in differentiating some phonemes, and then speech therapy has been the answer to that. So then you need a person from logopedics trying to help the child to really listen to the difference between two phonemes and so on. But this is an alternative method.
Yes, and of course one of the upsides of it is also that you don't need to give it in like person to person, but you can have a group.
Yes.
Which is, of course, it has this, of course, these effects of doing together and social skills maybe develop or the bond between children, and then it doesn't differentiate these children who are good in language-wise and who have challenges language-wise, so that they all can do it, and then maybe the ones that need more support might even get more support from it.
Yeah, so everybody is benefiting and everybody is working together. It's a little bit different approach when we think about, for example, diagnosing some language-related problems in a child and then taking the child from the group to be the specialist and to practice with a specialist. It's a very different world.
It is.
And of course, in the early childhood education, it's always group-based activities. So you always have the teachers and the educators, and then you have the group of kids. So this is something that you can do with the children, which is actually benefiting all of them and their language development.
Yes.
So that's a big thing in Finland now when we have children in the daycares whose native language is not Finnish or Swedish. So they have to learn all those things that the other children are learning, behavior in the groups and so on. But then at the same time they have to learn the Finnish or Swedish language.
Yes.
So this could be really something for that purpose.
I agree totally. And of course, I think having a music play school lesson is great to have something that has a structure and which is like built on like like a sequential way in a sense. But of course, you can have music also there as when you're dressing up to go to the yard or queuing for the lunch, or so that it could be implemented, and it actually is, depending on, of course, the staff's skills and attitudes maybe. But it's typically implemented in the everyday activities. But I would still, this is not like a solid piece of information, but I would still think that it would be beneficial to have a structured lesson also.
Yeah. This is one of the strengths of the music play school, that when the child goes there, they actually know what is going to happen, because it's always the same song in the beginning. It's always the same song in the end. And then some of the activities in the middle might be different on different days, but they know how it goes. They know what to expect. So that's also giving them some kind of confidence, like how to behave here and what's going to happen. It's not going to be very unexpected.
Yes. And I think the other thing that was like the children's vocabulary was enhancing, supported by this music play school, apparently, according to my study. And I think it's just the reason for that is or might be that when you sing the familiar songs, even though you sort of like know all the words, like what is a cow or a bunny or something like that, but still they introduce children new concepts, and then the concepts or the words, they sort of like are strengthened in their heads or in their brain, so that it becomes more familiar what this actually means. So that it's not just a name for something, but it has a meaning, deeper meaning.
Yes. So it's attached to some kind of story or some funny situation or something like that. And also maybe faster to remember the word in some kind of vocabulary test or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that your results would convince people in early childhood education really to use music. How do you see that situation? Because you are one of the teachers of the early childhood education teachers.
Yes, well, that too, partly at least. But I think when you teach the early childhood education that I've taught before, they are in the very beginning of their studies, so they have a lot to learn. So I'm not sure if that. I hope that they remember this, but I'm not sure if they do. So it would be great to have like a remind them along the way that remember we have this. There's this study also, and not like that. Our study would be the only one. There are a lot of other studies as well, but I hope it affects them.
Yeah. And also people who work as early childhood educators, they also want to learn more about music, so they come back to the university and try to learn the methods and how to use music and also those practical skills of how to use it with kids and learning new songs and so on. So that's also a positive sign.
Yes, it is. And of course we hopefully are able to train them further. And of course there are a lot of really active teachers in schools and in early childhood education who seek for this kind of studies or courses themselves.
Yes.
But of course the challenge is that the most active teachers are such that we don't need to tell them these things. So this is always that you sort of it's easy to tell these kind of results to people who think already that music is great.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course there comes people's insecurities about themselves, and so it's a big question. But I hope that this will get better.
Yes. Yeah. So now you are working on something completely different. Would you like to tell us a little bit about MUSPRO project?
Yes, well, not maybe completely different because it's again a 2-year follow-up in early childhood education and care, and we do have music lessons there as well. We have this a bit over 100 children who are recruited who were 4 when we started, and part of them will get to attend to music lessons once a week. Part of them will attend to sport lessons or physical education lessons once a week. And then we have these passive control children as well. And now they are not like these music play school teachers from the music schools, but we have planned the program ourselves, but they are along the same lines, so they do not differ in that sense. And now we're not aiming to see whether these interventions, as we call them, music or sports interventions, we're not aiming to see whether if they support the language development, but we're more interested in if they have some impact on children's social emotional skills and executive functions also. And this is a part of this bigger project, this Finnish Research Council's Music, Mind, Body and Brain Consortium, and which covers all kinds of music studies, but this is the one with the small children. And we don't know yet if we find anything. There are these studies about synchronizing along the music with quite small children, that if you have a situation where the child is does something, moves synchronized with another person, and music is there to help them to synchronize their movements, bounce or jump or something, that doesn't need to be anything more sophisticated than that. And then after this happening, you try to see, or there has been these study designs where the researcher is, for example, dropping something or not able to do something. The researchers have shown that the child who has been, for example, bouncing in sync with the experimenter is more likely to help the adult or another child compared to those children who have been bounced in a different tempo or played not along the music, but only having music as a background effect. So we know that it seems to have synchronizing along with music seems to have these short-term effects, but there is less evidence for it to have long-term effects that would show not right after having synchronized, but after participating in this kind of activities for several years or at least several months.
Yeah. So these children in the groups, they are kind of bonding the group together, and music might be helpful in that because of the rhythm. everything they do in the world of music is synchronized. If they sing together, if they move together, if they are clapping or playing some instruments or whatever they do, it's always going to be synchronized. But what about the sports? Isn't there also synchronous things to do?
Yes, and of course we are not trying to prove that sports is no use, because of course it has so the benefits of physical activities is so clear to everybody, so that it doesn't. We don't need to prove that for one's health or other. Or like agility or such, but of course they do. We have like controlled these programs, so that they do have like music and physical education. They do have similar kind of structure in all the lessons and activities that could be like have an association with each other, but like. In sports lessons, they don't sing or produce sounds or music. They do have rhythm there, of course. When one is throwing the ball and catching the ball, one has to take into account other children's movements in some sense. But I'm sort of expecting that there is no synchronization in the same sense. Of course, doing something in a small group typically creates some kind of bonding.
Yeah.
And it could be that we find these effects in both groups or in neither one of them.
Yeah.
So, but then fortunately we have this passive control group that we can compare them with.
Yeah. So this is part of the development of early childhood education in the sense that you are looking at the effects of the different elements that typically comprise the early childhood education day. There's usually some music, there's usually some physical activity. In Finland, we always take our kids outdoors, of course, and then some of the time is used for very basic things like eating and napping and so on. So you are looking at the value of these different activities that they have for language development, but also then for psychosocial development.
Yes. I would perhaps not like to use the word value, because of course both music and physical activities have value in themselves.
Of course, yes.
It's like fun and they enjoy it. But about these so-called transfer effects, we are interested about them. So that is it possible that these activities, which are fun themselves, do they contribute to some other skills or abilities? And of course we do have also tests for physical skills, and we have asked the parents about the habits of their families, musical habits and physical activity habits and so forth. So we will have a lot of data.
That sounds amazing. So we are eagerly waiting for the results, and the next time we meet you here on this podcast will be when you have the first results. Welcome back.
Thank you.